Next, the Rail Minister has insisted we can afford to finish HS2 despite fears it will overrun its budget by billions and while we're in a recession. Hugh Merriman was at the High Speed Railway's Old Oak Common site this morning to switch on a new network of conveyor belts that will help move 5 million tonnes of excavated material off the site. Our political correspondent Simon Harris reports.
Across Acton, a series of strange-looking structures have appeared. They snake around houses and over roads and railways. These are the conveyor belts which will carry waste soil and clay from HS2 construction sites to a rail depot at Willesden, where it can be taken away by train.
We press.
Today, the Rail Minister switched on the first belt at Old Oak Common.
In terms of how big a deal, we're talking about 50,000 lorry movements every year being removed from the West London road network. And we're hugely proud to have found a solution to that.
The government has allocated a budget of £73.8 billion to build the line from London to Birmingham and Manchester. But projects on this scale have an unhappy history of busting their budgets.
Can the country afford it?
The country can afford it because it's an investment in ourselves. Successive governments have been criticised for not looking beyond the election cycle. This is us looking, decades ahead of us.
The new conveyor belts are hard to miss, and Eva certainly can't ignore the one at the bottom of her garden. Like many opponents, she doesn't buy the government's argument that it would cost more to scrap HS2 than to finish it.
I think it still would be cheaper to scrap it because of the costs that are going up. We've got inflation, we've got the costs of materials, we've got the costs of labour. So I think it would be better to give kids school dinners and improve local railway lines.
So what do you think the final cost will be?
I don't want to speculate on what the final cost will be. All I can tell you is that we barrel down on costs. We hold HS2 to account. I do so regularly as HS2 Minister. They are currently within the bandwidth that we set for them, but they know that we're in challenging times. Inflation is running not just in the shops, but also for the materials that are used to build HS2.
More than 12,000 people now work on HS2 in London and the Chilterns. The line is being built in stages over 2 decades.
When the Birmingham to London section finally opens, possibly in 2030, for a while, Old Oak Common will be the end of the line. It could be another 6 years before HS2 reaches Euston.
Which means the new station at Old Oak Common will be one of the keys to HS2's success. The biggest new station to be built in Britain for 100 years. Simon Harris, ITV News, Acton.
The former Labour leader Jeremy Corbyn has refused to rule out standing as an independent candidate at the next election. The MP for Islington North lost the Labour whip 2 years ago after a damning report into anti-Semitism. He spoke to our political correspondent Simon Harris for tonight's edition of The Late Debate.
My view is that I have been selected originally and elected for Islington North. I'm a member of the Labour Party and I'm totally focused on representing Islington North.
Do you suspect there is a move to make sure you're not selected as the candidate?
I don't know. My local party, Islington North, members have been disenfranchised in this process because they're not allowed to decide whether to go ahead with the selection or not. That hasn't happened. I am working, as I've always done, hard as the Member of Parliament for Islington North, and I'll carry on doing that.
And what happens if you're not selected?
Theoretical question.
Might you stand as an independent?
That's a theoretical question. Let's deal with the issue that I was elected as a Labour MP, and I'm proud to be the Labour MP for Islington North, and I want to carry on doing that.
I notice you're not saying you won't stand as an independent.
I'm not answering theoretical or hypothetical questions.
And what about the question of whether you might stand as an independent against Sadiq Khan in the next mayoral election?
Another hypothetical question which I can't answer, I'm sorry. I'm sorry to disappoint you on this occasion.